One debate that will likely never end in K-pop is the issue of debuting minors. When it comes to this particular argument, I've seen a mixed bag of opinions. Some believe that debuting minors should be considered child exploitation and outlawed altogether. Others believe that minors shouldn't be restricted from pursuing their dreams. Then there are the people who are somewhere down the middle, believing that with proper regulations and a very strong familial support system, underage idols should be allowed to thrive in the industry. I personally see all sides of each argument. Though yes, there are far more former child stars speaking out against the entertainment industry for its crude and abusive practices, there have been a handful of former child stars who've admitted to having a different experience in the industry. At the end of the day, it's all honestly a mixed bag across the board. For every social issue that arises, there will always likely be some outlier out there that might challenge the usual status quo opinions. That's not to say that one positive experience completely invalidates the negative ones. It's simply to say that this, like many issues, is not a one-size-fits-all kind of topic in my opinion. Now, would I allow my own child to pursue such an occupation at the young age of 15 or younger? Probably not. But if I were somehow convinced to do so, you best believe that I would be glued to my child 24/7 throughout the entire process. If all parents were as proactive, then maybe this issue wouldn't be as polarizing as it currently is. But this, unfortunately, is not the case for many parents who allow their children to be thrust into the spotlight, sometimes before they've even learned how to tie their own shoes. And often the psychological damage that can arise from this isn't even seen until many years later, long after the child has reached adulthood. Nevertheless, whether you're for or against debuting minor idols, I'm not here to sway your opinion toward either side of the court. You've likely already made up your mind on the matter long before you even clicked to watch this video. So this video is merely to discuss the way one female idol in particular is currently being presented in the industry, and how her image is honestly one of the most interesting and somewhat complex case studies in this issue for me. Obviously, you've seen the thumbnail and title, so you know we're here to discuss Eunchae. So let's get to the most recent incident regarding her that gave me the idea to put this video together. Following LE SSERAFIM's special single release of Perfect Night, many people found something a little off with the choreography that they felt was a little inappropriate. That would be this particular dance move right here. Now, the move only lasts for less than 10 seconds, but you can likely spot where some of the outrage is coming from. These apparently hypersexualized hip movements are not something that many feel is suitable for someone like Eunchae, who was literally 16 at the time of this song's release, to be doing. Though I wasn't quite as outraged, my first thought was, why was it necessary to begin with? It honestly left me far more confused than anything else. This is a pretty chill song. Nothing about it really warrants choreography like this. Haven't people gotten on Source Music's ass before about something very similar happening near the beginning of LE SSERAFIM's career? With their debut Fearless, I don't believe that it was a coincidence that the original floor-humping choreography that you see in the music video was removed right around the same time people started complaining about how inappropriate it was, considering that the group had 2 underage members at the time. I don't remember seeing any articles explicitly stating that this was the actual reason for its removal, but I'd assume that maybe Source reevaluated the situation themselves and realized that it was probably for the best. So why didn't they learn that same lesson with this new choreography controversy? Well, the answer to that question is depressingly simple. Some companies, from what I've seen, only choose to take action against an issue if it becomes too big for them to ignore, and that's usually when their domestic fan base is the one making the complaints. One downside to being an international fan is the realization that our opinions are typically not the most important ones when it comes to industry-related topics. But when it comes to things like this, I'd like to believe that the general consensus is one that is universal. Whether you're for or against underage idols debuting in the industry, The thing that should matter above all else is how the idol is treated and presented to the public. This sentiment goes for idols of all ages, but especially with the underage ones. A group that's managed to toe this line far better than most other groups in the industry with underage idols is CSR. When they debuted, all of the members were 17. Now, let me make it known that yes, 17 is not considered legally underage in some places. And as a further disclaimer, CSR is also a much smaller group than LE SSERAFIM, thus increasing the amount of scrutiny they're bound to get in comparison to a smaller group like CSR. This is not me trying to shit all over LE SSERAFIM. As I've stated before, LE SSERAFIM is one of my old groups, but even as a fear knot, certain topics shouldn't be ignored simply because it makes us uncomfortable to talk about. And I've never been one for shying away from pointing out issues with groups that I consider myself to be a fan of. You can love something with all your heart and still have a legitimate criticism against it. I personally think that it's fine to present opposing opinions about groups that you like, as long as you aren't unreasonably attacking the idols within that group. So what I'm about to state from here on is just an observation that I found to be very interesting as I begin putting this video together. This particular example might not fly with most people, but it's the most relevant example I could think of because there's yet to be another instance in K-pop when CSR's particular concept was attempted. So let's play devil's advocate for a second and briefly discuss CSR's public image in comparison to Eunchae's public image. Setting aside all of the morally reprehensible issues at hand here, when you as a company decide to debut minors, and you are the driving force behind their careers, you've pretty much decided to take on the responsibility of not only ensuring that they are physically safe, but also that you keep their mental wellness in mind. Since all of these idols likely spend a good majority of time away from their families, hell, underage foreign idols have to leave their families behind in whole other countries, so that essentially makes the company and every adult at that company their de facto parents. With this in mind, your top priority as the de facto parent would be to treat these idols as if they were literally your own children. Some of these companies damn near adopt these idols long before they even debut, with some idols who were literally trainees in elementary school. So under the guise of treating them as your own children, would you really want your own child being presented in any way that opens them up to public ridicule or that gets them the wrong kind of attention? A good parent would say no. A good parent would want to preserve their child's innocence as much as possible. And yes, I know you can't protect children from all of the horrors of the world, but I'm willing to bet that most parents would go out of their way to at least try. CSR's company seems to have somewhat understood this. Yes, the members here were more or less underage at the time of debut, but the concept chosen for them was age appropriate and still is. I know some people at some point seemed to believe that the cute concept was degrading to women because it felt like it was essentially infantilizing them, but cute concept has its place. In situations like this, when all of the members are damn near children, cute concept is almost always the best route to take. Now, am I saying that LE SSERAFIM should change their concept or baby up their image to suit Eunchae? No, because I don't believe their concept is inappropriate for her. The bold and confident ferocity of their music and image is literally my favorite thing about them. And it's something that anyone of pretty much any age can pull off with proper regulations, which is something that Source Music has kind of managed to do so far, to a certain extent. There's nothing overtly sexual or inappropriate about LE SSERAFIM's music or styling thus far. Lyrically, most of their music is about self-image and female empowerment, which are universal topics that most people can relate to. Eunchae brings forth a carefree and youthful aura to the group, and is the shining star of most of their variety content in my opinion. She deserves her place in the group, despite some people claiming that she brings nothing to the table in terms of talent. But certain ways that she is presented through their choreography makes me wonder if Source Music is trying to have their cake and eat it too. So my question for Source Music is, what role do they really want Eunchae to play here? Is she still just the mischievous cute maknae? Or is she only ever allowed to act her age in variety content? Because if Source Music is still hell-bent on giving LE SSERAFIM this stylishly mature image that they showed us in their pre-debut videos, then maybe they should have debuted the group with all adults. Because anytime you have groups that have one or two minors debuting with adults, it somewhat limits what you can conceptually do with the group to make it work for all of the members equally. You want your girl group to exude a powerful aura of competent maturity for the adult members without accidentally over-sexualizing the underage ones. You also don't want to fall into the trap of infantilizing the adult members. And that, I admit, might be a little difficult to pull off. Now that Eunchae is 17, it could drive Source Music to get a little bolder with LE SSERAFIM's music and image. And if that's the route that they want to go with them, then I hope that they at least remember that Eunchae is still someone's child. The way they choose to present her to the public is the way the public will perceive her, leaving her open to far more scrutiny than anyone, especially someone her age, should ever have to endure.